Welcome to the second leg of the second women's semi-final. We have a matchup between the Northern Hawks and the West Coast Cobras. And just running through the lineups today for the Northern Hawks, it's the number 8, Kayla McCulloch, the number 3, Ingrid Bersalo, the number 1, Carla Edwards, the number 5, Jade Paul, the number 4, Dakota Van Vugt, the number 6, Madeline Bogust, the number 9, Kaitlyn Bellanca, and number 7, Carla Begon. And for the West Coast Cobras, Annie Leyland wearing the number 1 in between the sticks. Just bear with us at the moment while we're having some technical difficulties with the team sheet. It's just gone off screen, but as we look to the plate, Shelby Cochran with a free kick on the right-hand side of the court. She scored 2 goals in the first leg and earned herself a player of the round performance, as the Cobras currently hold a 4-1 aggregate lead that they can look to see out this evening. Bellanca to McCulloch, who was absent from last week's fixture. Bersalo back to McCulloch. Van Vugt. McCulloch again under pressure by Cochran, who wins the ball back for the Cobras. And now we should be able to run through the team list. If they would just load. There we go. So for the West Coast Cobras, Annie Leyland wearing the number 1, EJ Silva the number 8. Emma Elias with a shot off the right boot. Sent away by Edwards, and now Bellanca on the counter-attack. No break in play for us to run through the lineups just yet. Maybe now is Shelby Cochran, the number 4, Frankie Murray, the number 12, Krystle-Jade Brooke, the number 22, Tatum Spencer, the number 9, and Emma Elias wearing the number 7. So a deeper bench for the Northern Hawks, who have a 3-goal deficit to overcome. And they've had the better starts of the two teams so far. Bellanca, she's going to play a big role. So is Kayla McCulloch. Bellanca being pressed hard by Cochran. Plays it out to McCulloch. It was last touch off Shelby Cochran's pink boot. And it will be a sideline ball for the Hawks. As Kayla McCulloch flicking it into EJ Silva, who's sporting the nice high socks this evening. Bellanca. That one's given away almost. Silva let it run. As Krystle-Jade Brooke starting on the court tonight. She had a good performance last week, scoring the leveler. EJ Silva as well scored the second goal of last week's match, and it was deemed to be goal of the week. A very good team effort by the West Coast Cobras, as Krystle-Jade Brooke playing it up the line. Elias firing off the right, and Carla Edwards getting a strong left hand to it. Silva, poor corner, another Hawks can counter-attack in 4. They've got numbers forward. Van Vugt slips it through. Bellanca, well saved by Leyland. The Hawks knocking on the door. The Cobras were caught lapsing defensively. And it was a really good chance for Kaitlyn Bellanca, who looked to add her 6th goal of the season. I think the one to watch tonight is Kaitlyn Bellanca. She's come back from an ACL injury, and she's been very good for the Northern Hawks ever since, averaging a goal of the match, a couple of Team of the Week performances. Alongside that, Kayla McCulloch. And for the West Coast Cobras, EJ Silva, the youngster, she's had a superb season, a breakthrough campaign. And if the Cobras are to see out tonight, she will play a big role. Here's the woman of the hour, Bellanca again to McCulloch, who was invited to trial for the women's national team last year. Kayla McCulloch. You hear the name Zoe Spadano spouted so often, but Kayla McCulloch honestly was actually better than Zoe Spadano when they were younger, and Spadano maybe developed a bit better physically in the end, but Kaitlyn McCulloch is not far off. So in another situation. She could have quite easily have been the one of the two of them to go professional. As Shelby Cochran to Krystle-Jade Brooke, who's trying to burst forward. McCulloch tries to clear, and it was last off Brooke, and they'll get the sideline ball, the Northern Hawks. So 5 minutes lapse, nothing's happened yet, but Bellanca on the attack. Put out by Frankie Murray. As we see Sam Brady check onto the court for her first minutes also. Bellanca fires off the right, blocked well by Sam Brady. Van Vugt fires over the bar. Could have done better with that effort. Thomas Lynch tipping the Cobras to win. I'd agree. So myself, especially considering they do have that 4-1 aggregate lead, which they can look to extend now. And it's Sam Brady who scores the opening goal of the match and extends their deficit to 4 for the Northern Hawks. It was a well-placed finish into the far corner beyond Edwards, who didn't really stand a chance, as the number 7, Carla Began, on for the Hawks, whose job only gets bigger. The hill becomes even steeper to climb. Paul still going. Bellanca holds off well. Still going, Kaitlyn Bellanca. Can she work the back post? Tries to cross it in on the left boot. Leyland doing enough to tip it over. McCulloch back to Began. And a sideline ball for the Northern Hawks once again. You'd feel like they will be eyeing out that flight keeper very soon. Something that Farrell's renowned to implement with his sides, and they've got a big job to do. Fly keeper very may well be the way to get it started. Paul McCulloch. Oh, that one's given away in the centre. Frankie Murray trying to double the lead, but Edwards did well. Ball across, finds Paul, but it's a poor touch. Silva back on the court, receives the side ball across. Back to Murray, who's strung for options. Brady in the centre, threads it through to Silva. Paul on her case immediately. Still going Paul, lovely feet. Needs options and support. Tries to flick it through to Began. But the pass was a little bit behind the number 7's run. Ball in the centre, given away poorly. Murray wins it back, trying to go up the other end. But Talia Kerem does her job defensively. The top goal scorer for the Northern Hawks this season has been Kaitlyn Bellanca, with 5 goals to her account in only the 5 matches for the West Coast Cobras. It's EJ Silva and Lauren Continabali with the 4 goals apiece, but it seems like Continabali is absent from the squad tonight. Silva on the far end of the court wearing the number 8. Jade Paul brings it in to Kerem. It is the famous Jade Paul, Ben O'Brien, commentator by day, star futsal player by night, as Kerem plays it in the centre. It's a good ball to Silva, who tries to play Frankie Murray, but the ball just evades the number 12. Kerem to Bisalo. Paul. Good ball in the centre. Finding Began. Brady does well. Lovely ball to find Bisalo. Can she turn? Lovely. Great save by Leyland. And cleared away by Tatum Spencer. Ball in the middle. Bisalo. Shot blocked. Murray trying to burst forward, running out of real estate. 10 minutes into the match. Score still at 1 goal. Paul, nice feet. She's playing well today, Jade Paul. No real passing options. Squeezes it out to Basalo. And Basalo's ball astray. Kaitlyn Spencer, the youngest player on the court, only 14, absolutely. And along with that, EJ Silver, I believe, is also 14, along with Sam Brady. So I dare to say that the Cobras probably have the 3 most promising youngsters in the whole state playing in their women's first team lineup. It's really good to see a lot of talent coming through the women's ranks in the Supa-Liga. As we see Karam on the break. Brady does well. Wins it off Paul there, does Brady. Now she can look to restart the attack of the Cobras for herself. EJ Silver has got Murray at the back post. Silver looking for it. Murray needed to throw herself for that one. And she could have extended the lead, but it was good play between Silver and Brady. Lovely interplay. Basalo back rows it to Bellanca. He's only, I think, 19 years of age herself, so a lot of good young players on the court. That ball given away to Murray. Spencer down the line. Back out to Silver. Now with Spencer once again. The youngsters on the court combining well, but that one's given away. Basalo, can her experience pay dividends? Tries to play it on to Carla Begun.
Ingrid, press the highest player.
The ball through, cut out by Bellanca. Karam on the break. Now, if the Cobras can win it up high, they might have a chance. Bellanca doing well as the last line of defense. Hawks are far too slow on the transition, according to Tom Lynch. I'd have to agree with you there. They definitely look vulnerable on the break. Basalo can't win it in the center battle with Krystle-Jade Brooke. And the ball over the top to no avail. Zanny Leyland will collect that one, take her time. Her side 28 minutes away from a grand final. That's her ball. A little bit too long, in fact. It goes all the way back down the other end to Edwards, who drops it at the feet of Bellanca. The question now remains, when are the Hawks going to go at it with the fly keeper? Basalo twisting and turning. And there's Forrest Bellanca, who cuts inside nicely. Still going Bellanca. Lost it off the ball by Brady, who's defended exceptionally well.
That was worse than the one before.
Ball down the line. Van Vugt on the turn. Comfortable for Leyland. So the Hawks are creating half chances. They just need some more clear-cut opportunities. And they need to test Leyland a bit more than they have been up the other end. Here's Tatum Spencer. Good save by Edwards. Still not cleared away for the Hawks. Tatum Spencer on the attack once more. But Edwards gathers this time around. So Cobra's knocking on the door, trying to extend the lead to 2. Leyland will field that one. Moves it on quickly to Brooke. Brooke trying to take on Basalo. Basalo gets the better, but Brooke's still going at it. Basalo comes away with it in the end. Karam, Basalo, Bellanca, Van Vugt. Karam cut out by Brady. Karam wins the duel. Still going Karam. Silver manages to get it back to Brooke, who tries to find Spencer in the center. Carla Edwards just letting it run as Basalo and Karam make way to the bench. It's Kayla McCulloch and the number 6, Madeline Bogust, on for her first minutes of the match. Leyland distributes it short. And the 1-2 with Brooke finds its way to Bellanca. Cochran, she scored 2 last week. Trying to keep going once again. But Krystle-Jade Brooke just poking that one through to Edwards. And now we see it. The Hawks are at it with the 5th man. Will it pay dividends? They'd be able to overturn a 5-goal deficit. It's a big ask, but if anyone can do it with the fly keeper, it's going to be them. McCulloch will be the one to orchestrate it. Van Vugt, back post ball. Leyland, she can have a shot. That one nowhere near the target. So Hawks are going to get a chance to reset and go again. Van Vugt, bit of a loose pass. McCulloch can't win it back. Ilias, she can't find the empty net. It rolls into touch and out for a Northern Hawks side ball. It will be Madeline Bogas to get us underway. Bellanca, who may take the role of Fixo, and McCulloch. Bellanca, back to McCulloch. Down the line, a good ball to Edwards, who's good with her feet. Gets it back up to McCulloch. Bellanca. Across to Edwards, down the line. And Edwards, ball to the back post, not far away. Couldn't add a finishing touch. More praise for Tatum Spencer as the timeout has been called. Currently 1-0 to the Northern Hawks. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Hawks are ready to go after their timeout. Cobras break from their huddle. They look to shut them out defensively. And it's going to be a ball from Leyland to get us restarted. Playing Brady, and you can see the Hawks are employing that high press. Paul winning the ball, but going straight off her and out. Cochrane just giving that one back to the opposition a little bit cheaply. Hawks can ride their luck with the 5th man. The Cobras are trying to press it to stop them from setting up efficiently. Bellanca, McCulloch can't work their way out of the pressure, but the last touch was off Cochrane once again. Hawks are going to have to be better to get some fluent possession going. The ball to Paul may be open. They found the line ball to Edwards. It's a good one. And now they're set to continue. But McCulloch just rushing that one a little bit. Had Bellanca as the safe ball. Should have used it. Bellanca. And that one just going under Jade Paul's foot. If the Cobras can take it quickly, they may be able to find the empty net. Brooke not going to be able to do so. Edwards is now back on her line. Hawks are pressing high. Paul's won that one back, but straight down the throat to Leyland. A bit more urgency in the Hawks play, but will it see them get caught on the counter? Cobras have numbers forward. Brady has had a good game so far. Looks it up to Murray, who resets with Cochrane. Back to Brady, one-on-one with Van Vugt, and tries to play it across the ball to Krystle-Jade Brooke. Just can't do so. Look, I think the influx of SFL sides joining to the women's, or coming across to the women's Supa-Liga will be really good for the women's game. Without trying to sound critical, I think both the women's SFL and the Supa-Liga have been quite average at best, to be honest, at least as of the past few seasons, because the talent pool is too spread out. There are too many teams, and there's not enough competition playing in the one place at the same time. So what I think will be good about so many teams coming over is instead of having a 4-team competition at the Supa-Liga, it's been 6 or 7 in the past few seasons. Instead of having a 5-team competition in SFL, you're going to have 8 teams in the one league and all the best players playing against each other. Now, in the men's division, it's always worked having the both leagues because there's a much larger pool of players. But for these women, I don't think it's good playing against the same opposition time and time again. And having the likes of Brazil join, having the likes of Coburn Wolves join, having the likes of Cumbrae join, it's going to, make a lot more to play for these girls. It may be an unpopular opinion, but that's how I see it going. The way we saw it this season, there were 4 teams. Everybody made the finals, and the Devils, at this stage, in my opinion, seem to be head and shoulders above the rest. Maybe a couple of other sides joining along will throw a spanner or two into the works. Is that ball all the way through to Leyland. Brooke. Cochran. Bisalo. Van Vugt tries to return down the line to Bisalo. Still going. Across to Paul. And Leyland with the long ball. Can she pick out Cochran's run? Cumbrae won't have a women's. Well, look, as far as I know, they've entered. I'm not sure where they're going to get the players from. They didn't have a women's last time around, and they haven't had one for quite some time. In fact, I think the last time Cumbrae had a women's, Kaitlyn Bellanca was actually their captain, but hopefully they do. Hopefully we can get an 8-team women's competition together, and I think that'll be the best going forward for the women's game for sure. Good touch by Silva to bring it down. Brady tries to play it through to Silva. But I think what's good to see with the women's game is there is such good young talent. You saw the under-15 side at AFA Nationals were triumphant and won the whole competition, which featured the likes of Sam Brady, Tatum Spencer, EJ Silva. Another young up-and-coming keeper is Gemma Skinner. And you've seen the pathways that Supa-Liga has provided. Zoe Spadano has now become a professional. Kaitlyn Bellanca has had national team trials. So a lot of talented women in the state of WA, but yeah, I just think over the past few seasons, having 2 competitions with diluted teams and, not necessarily the best players playing in the one spot has been detrimental to them. So I think next season will be the biggest and best one we've seen yet. So a lot of support on the stream coming for Carla Edwards, who played in Betim Zeba's Hammersley Rovers side, who won the Women's State League. They've, unfortunately, I've been told, rejected promotion to MPL, which is a shame because I would have loved to have seen how they've gone. But Carla Edwards, the unbeatable brick wall in between the sticks for the Hammers. She's also an amazing futsal keeper, has played at many AFA Nationals, has done it at all levels in the Supa-Liga, coming up through the youth ranks, and now is one of the stalwart keepers in the women's competition. And as you can see right now, she's up high in the court, is a very good keeper with her feet as she gets that header but can't direct it goal bound. She's scored 2 goals this season. And we'll just have a quick halftime break. Current score 1-0 to the West Coast Cobras. We're ready to get back underway. The Sam Brady goal separates the two sides. Obviously, Cobras leading 5-1 on aggregate, as it will be the women in green to take kickoff to get us started for the second half. Cobras lining up with Elias, Cochrane, Murray and Spencer. Hawks lining up with Bellanca, Basalo, Paul and Edwards, and McCulloch as well. Obviously, they go straight into the fifth man. McCulloch to dictate the play from the back. So great to see SFL talent come across. I completely agree. That's the thing. As you mentioned, the Supa-Liga women's, especially in winter, has lacked the number of teams. And a lot of the teams have been quite quality. As you see, the Northern Hawks, the Cobras, the Devils, they're very good teams. Obviously, the Devils probably being the pick of the bunch and the favourites to win the competition. But with a couple more teams coming over, it's going to make it so much more exciting. More games each week. You know, the team of the week is going to be selected from a larger pool of players. It's just going to be really good for the women's game, and I'm honestly really excited for it. So the next nationals for the women, well, look, if it's AF and A nationals, they'll probably take a mixed side, a state team. And it usually tends to have a mixture of players from the Western Devils, the West Coast Cobras, and the Northern Hawks. If we're talking club nationals, I think the Devils are definitely the pick of the bunch. Coburn Wolves as well have done very well at SFL over the past few seasons, along with South Perth. Obviously, in the Futsal Supa-Liga Australian champs, it was the Hawks and the Devils who represented WA, and the Devils were triumphant quite convincingly. They did look like the best team there by a long shot. This lady on the ball here, Kaitlyn McCulloch, was part of the Western Devils side that won the whole competition. So they did have some help from some guest players, but the likes of Clayton, the likes of Waltman especially, stood tall and got them over the line. And again, Ben, I do agree with you there. You know, players that only play futsal in the off-season never really get the benefit of playing all year round. And you see, in the women's game and the men's game, the players that prioritise futsal and either do both or just play futsal tend to be the better players. Like Tyler Garner and the men, he's always played outdoor and indoor, hence, you know, why he's the best player in the state. Luke Rossell, Milham not far behind. They commit to the futsal game all year round. And in the women's, McCulloch, she's always been committed to futsal regardless of outdoor. Same with this girl on the ball here, Kaitlyn Bellanca. And it's why they are the best. What quite often happens is you have a season off for outdoor, you come back and the competition's already gone ahead of you. You're not used to the speed of the game, you're not used to the changes in the competition and the pace of the matches. And often the players that do prioritise indoor all year round have an advantage. As Murray gets on the outside of McCulloch, can she find the empty net? It's hit the post. And that's a let off for the Northern Hawks and very nearly for Frankie Murray. Bellanca, McCulloch. And what I like about the fact that Greg's coaching Subi in the women's MPL is he's one of those coaches that does promote futsal, obviously. Why wouldn't he? But I hear from people that the Red Star coach doesn't like it. I'm not sure how the Freo coach goes about it, but a lot of the outdoor coaches see futsal as a detriment more than a positive. It's a real chance for Cochrane, and that's off the post again, but on the follow-up, puts it into the top corner. And what a finish that is from Shelby Cochrane, who scores her third goal off the two legs. And it may just be enough for the Cobras to win the match and send themselves in the grand final. If it wasn't clear already, the aggregate score is now out to 6-1. And it's a really long road back for the Northern Hawks, who switch Edwards out for the fly keeper with the number 46, who is Talia Kerem. Just got confused there because her number on the team sheet didn't match up to the number she was wearing in the goal, but we got there in the end. Annie Leyland is up 4 seconds. Very nearly could have been Frankie Murray. Under pressure from Bellanca, manages to evade her challenge. Still going Murray. Bellanca on her case, does well to recover defensively. Well, look, I think the thing with Tyler is he's on a lot of money playing for Kingsway and outdoor. It's not worth him just giving up outdoor to play futsal full-time. Would he be better if he did it? Maybe, but it obviously hasn't affected him much, as he is still an amazing player. And that handy, however many $100 a week he gets, which I'm not entitled to say, is definitely the motivating factor behind him playing for Olympic Kingsway. You'd have to think as Kaitlyn Bellanca goes whack into the back of the net. And Northern Hawks half the deficit off this leg, but it's still a long road back for them overall. 6-2 now on aggregate, 2-1 tonight. Remember Mantra entering a women's side. Well, I did see their announcement, and I'll just leave it there and saying it was interesting. I didn't know what to make of it. I don't know what it implied, but if they are entering a women's side, look, that's good for the sport, I guess. But if I were them, I would just focus on starting with one or two men's side and getting that underway first before you venture into any further endeavours. Obviously, I've ran Balga before at the SFL, and we look to get a women's side going on a couple of occasions, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of commitment and dedication to find a whole new subset of players, and it isn't easy. Now, if you've got an established committee, an established group of senior men's players and a couple of women's players to start off with, it's one thing, but starting from scratch and trying to make two men's teams, a youth team and a women's team is not going to be easy. And if they do it, full credit to them, but I don't think I could pull it off personally. Praise for Edwards. Get her off the bench, the comments say. She's off the bench now, but she's been rounded. Murray's missed the empty net. Edwards was left stranded. There was nothing she could do. And will she stay on for the fifth man? No, she's come straight to the bench. I think leaving Edwards on would have been the right call. She's good with her feet, and it's easier to have the keeper play fifth man rather than subbing them in and out each time. As the ball from Jade Paul just evading the back post. McCulloch cuts inside and just can't put it away. Could EJ Silva. Hawks getting away with a couple there. They look rattled. I don't think they're playing their best foot. So the Cobras are staying disciplined. They're hard to break down as Ingrid Bissalo trying to create some magic. SFL Golden Boot winner, four-time champion with South Perth. Now a full-time player of the Northern Hawks. A good ball through from McCulloch. Returns it. McCulloch gets it back. And the ball through for Bissalo. Not accurate enough as Leyland goes for the shot, but that one into the roof once again. Sophie Podmore, I believe, is just playing outdoors. As we were saying, we want these girls to play futsal all year round, but I think Sophie Podmore is focusing on the outdoor game, which is a shame because she's a brilliant player. League MVP last season, and a very deserving one at that. And you wonder if she was playing across these two legs, if the scoreline would be different. She had so much for the game. Sophie Podmore, the maestro at the back for the Northern Hawks, links up very well with Kayla McCulloch. Up the line to Bogast. Murray in a battle with McCulloch, and Murray trying to find the empty net. Bogast blocks it from going any further. Brooke to Murray. Bissalo tries to win it back. Murray flicks it down the line, but the ball just not staying in the field of play. It's Dakota Van Vugt. Bissalo. Van Vugt. Curran. Van Vugt. Ball through, looking for Ingrid Bissalo. It's the final ball which is letting the Northern Hawks down at the moment. They're going at it with the fifth man, but every time they look to progress forward, they're not hitting their passes. Good pressure hard the court from Bogas. Bissalo lets it run. Van Vugt shoots from distance. It's a powerful effort, but didn't have the accuracy as Brooke. Silva. Brady. Elias. Ball in the center. Elias, obviously a former Northern Hawk, playing against her old side. Back rolled by Brady, but it's trickled out of bounds as Edwards off to the bench. It's going to be Talia Kerem back on with the fifth man, Bogast. I think Cumbria are going to make a big impact in the men's division. That's to be expected. No surprise in predicting that one there. For the women's competition, I think the South Perth side, South Perth Alliance, depending on who they manage to bring in, could be a good challenge for the Western Devils, potentially Coburn Wolves as well. The Northern Hawks and the Cobras are going to be up there. They'll always be looking to get themselves into those final spots. And then obviously the Hawks for the men's are going to be there. We're going to be there. The West Coast Cobras, Phoenix as well. So Cobras and Phoenix played out an absolutely exhilarating game last night. They're not going anywhere. And that's probably it for the men's side. If I had to predict an early top four, I'd say Cumbria, Cobras, Phoenix and Hawks. And for the women's, I would say Devils, Coburn Wolves, South Perth and Hawks. And you'll notice I left Cobras out there, but they are beating the Hawks at the moment. However, as we mentioned earlier, with the likes of Podmore and a few other players coming back from outdoor, I think at full strength the Hawks are probably just the better side over the West Coast Cobras. But today it's gone the way of the women in green so far. As Bellanca to McCulloch. Bellanca, outdoor player at Perth Red Star, who won the women's MPL alongside their men's team, who wrapped up the league today in fashion. Balcatta, as far as I know, saved themselves from relegation with their win against Coburn, who will be playing in State League Div 1 next season. Lovely ball through. And Curran just needed a bit of composure inside the D. Had time to take your touch and try and direct that shot goal bound. Well, disrespect to AFC there. You are right, Ben. I forgot about AFC because this season they obviously played the winter without a lot of their quality players, but AFC will be in and around that top four, and with the larger competition, finals contingent may extend from 4 to 6 or maybe even 8 teams, I'm hearing. So AFC are definitely going to be in and around those places. And AFC are entering a women's team as well, which is something I didn't touch on. I'm not really familiar with who they'll have, but I noticed they did come last in the SFL last season, or second last, something like that. It was between them and Curtin, but hopefully for this Supa-Liga season they can muster up a stronger side and cause the big teams some problems. And that one trickling out of bounds. Bellanca, Besalo, McCulloch, back to Besalo, fires off the left. And back to McCulloch. Time is the enemy of the Northern Hawks. The odds are heavily stacked against him. It's been a really uphill battle for them today as McCulloch flicking that one over. Giving away a little cheaply there, perhaps. And AFC have qualified for the Supa-Liga Australia National Championships. It's definitely worth a mention, alongside the Cobras and the Northern Hawks. So they will be competing in December in Victoria, where they will take on some of Australia's best teams. And I'm looking forward to see how the WA sides go. Obviously, the Northern Hawks won it last time around in the inaugural edition of the competition, but the quality is going to be even higher now than it was last season, with more teams. Some serious futsal side rumoured to be getting involved, which is good to see. Widely regarded as the best league in Australia. And I don't disagree there. Serious futsal. Obviously, Luke Ross played there last season, a very entertaining competition. Home to Scott Rogan, Adam Cooper, a couple of Australia's very best players. But not to discount any of the players playing in the Supa-Liga. I think once the league gets more professional, you'll start to see more futsalers call-ups from WA. A lot of talent across the women and men's competition. But I think the onus is now on the FFA to organise a women's national team. We've got one with AFA, we've got one with FAF, we've got one with FUFUSA, but we don't have a FIFA women's national team, and it's a shame because, you know, no World Cup, no FIFA national team. There's not as much for these girls to play for as there is for the men, so hopefully if they can get that sorted, along with the Women's World Cup, which is rumoured to be happening in, I think, 2025, then like McCulloch, you'd expect to be involved. Zoe Spadano, of course, formerly Supa-Liga MVP, along with a couple of others who play in WA, but there's been a timeout, and we'll have a quick break and be back in just a moment. And we're about to get back underway. The Cobras just shaping up from their timeout. So a comment coming in saying Northern Hawks just didn't have the long-term A-League experience this season. And I completely agree. A lot of young players in the squad that can't quite match the experience of McCulloch, Jade Paul and Carla Edwards. But hopefully next season they will get some of their stalwarts back. But what is good to see is a lot of really good young players coming through in seasons to come. There'll be some exceptional talent on the court. McCulloch down the line, and a little bit wasted there from Kerem. Is going to give Annie Leyland another chance to find the empty net, but after sweating a couple of opportunities, she doesn't go for it. The age-old question, Tyler Garner or Scott Rogan? Look, it's a hard one, and it's up for debate. Two of the very best players in Australia. Now, Rogan, obviously the king of Victoria, Garner, the king of the king of Western Australia. Now, in series futsal, when Garner and Rogan play alongside each other, Rogan is the funnel, everything goes through Fitzroy, so he tends to stand out more, tends to see more minutes. But at FFA Nationals, playing against each other, I thought Garner had the better tournament of the two. And when it came to the Futsaroos this time out, I thought they were both very good, but Garner tended to start more matches and get more game time. So it's up for debate, and I don't know really enough about them. Obviously, I'm not a player myself. I haven't played against him, and sometimes that's the best way to determine who's better. Now, expert opinion from Luke Ross is Tyler Garner is harder to play against than Scott Rogan. You didn't hear it from me, but I'll be the devil's advocate here and letting you guys know that. But obviously, Rogan, a great player, AFA Nationals representative for Victoria, played against West Coast for years. And now in the national team setup, Fanta, as he's known, the captain of Fitzroy. And speaking of Fitzroy, no sign of Georgia Cowley, who's Northern Hawks Eastern States import, who we've seen feature a few times this season, but hasn't been a regular. I'm not sure on her whereabouts. Bellanca looking for the back post. Van Vugt comes sliding in, just hits the outside of the woodwork. Appreciate that, Ben. A world-class player. I think that's very kind of you. I myself disagree, but I do my best whenever I do get the boots on. And Brooke, was she fouled there? The referees let it go. I would have called it. It might result in a chance for the Northern Hawks, but Cochrane comes to save the day. She's had a great matchup over the past two legs. 3 important goals, and has arguably been the player of the final series so far for the West Coast Cobras. Across to Van Vugt. Edwards, can she add the finishing touch? And that one into the grateful arms of Leyland, who releases quickly. Bellanca to clean up, has got Cochrane to beat. Strong for options. A little bit of a poor back pass, puts Edwards under pressure. Edwards does really well with the feet to squeeze it out to McCulloch. McCulloch being battered against by Spencer. Still going McCulloch. Into the corner with Bissalo. Back out to McCulloch. The Fremantle and Cobras collaboration. So it's not a merger, nothing like that, but we tend to share a lot of the same players, and it's almost like a partnership where we'll be competing in both leagues, but organising our home games with Fremantle to be on a Sunday, so they don't clash with the Supa-Liga, and we share about 80% of the same squad, along with some other additions from other Supa-Liga clubs like Ches Houston. And for the Cobras, we have James Toth, who may be playing for South Perth in the SFL. Now, I think it's worked successfully over the past couple of seasons, sharing players across both competitions. And it's something I started implementing a couple of years back, and it seemed to pay dividends. We won the Supa-Liga and the SFL last season in the men's with quite a similar squad between the two competitions, and it's the first time I've heard of anyone in Australia doing that before, winning both state competitions with the same bunch of players. A lot of players over East tend to be either AFA or FFA, and they don't play across both leagues. They play one brand of futsal. What's good in WA is our futsal community is very close, it's very together. A lot of the players enjoy playing in both leagues, and I think that's the best thing for the game to grow. Ben O'Brien as well has joined on with Fremantle FC for the SFL season. Now, Ben, the only reason why I didn't bring your name up there is I didn't want to drop any hints that you might be leaving Curtin in case one of the Curtin committee members like Dara DeBuri or Fadi Mikhail is watching or listens to it back in a while. But if you're happy to put that information out there, then yeah, Ben O'Brien is a new signing for Fremantle for next season as the West Coast Cobras score a goal as we're speaking. And the third of the match, just seeing that on the instant replay, is Emma Elias, who finds the empty net. And that's probably the Northern Hawks season over, 7-2 on aggregate. It just didn't quite work out for the Hawks over these 2 games. But Curran hasn't given up. She's still battling for the ball. Bellanca plays it off Cochrane. And up to Jade Paul, a bit of a wasted shot. And a timeout for the West Coast Cobras. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I think the Devils coming to the grand final will be the hot favourites. They've had the better of the Cobras in previous grand final meetings. In the 2022 winter season, it was the Western Devils that dismantled the Cobras 4-0 in the grand final. In the 2021-22 summer season, they got over the line 2-0, so not quite as convincing, but a win nonetheless. The Cobras will be the underdogs, but they will have a lot of hunger in their belly to try and turn the tide against the league's premier competition. Laura Waltman, the best player in the league. I completely agree. I think she is the best player in the women's game at this point in time, especially now that Zoe Spadana is playing professionally. She would probably be tipped to take that crown if she was still in Perth. But yeah, Laura Waltman, she's been exceptional. But not just this season, the past 3 or 4 seasons, constantly scoring a bag of goals, constantly winning league MVPs and leading the Devils line alongside the likes of Clayton Priato, who can't be discounted, former West Coast Cobra who will be playing against her old side, Kim McCartney, and another new signing this season in April Nossen. So the Devils have gone from strength to strength. Waltman or Botha? Look, in my opinion, I think Laura Waltman. In that one, I think it's not an easy call, but I do think Laura Waltman in that regard. Botha obviously has teared up the SFL for years, and I'd like her to prove me wrong coming to the Supa-Liga this season, but I think on a bigger court, Waltman will succeed and her superiority will show. On the smaller court, it changes things, and I think Botha has been very good for South Perth on the smaller court at Supa-Liga, but it's a whole different ball game. You saw Alliance with a lot of the South Perth players, and they were very successful at SFL playing on a smaller court, but coming onto the bigger court, defending becomes a lot harder. Attacking, it becomes different. Less about one-on-ones and taking shots, and more about working the ball forward and creating openings. So I think that's where Waltman wins it in that regard, and tip her to soldier on as the premier futsal player in Western Australia. Obviously, the Wolves bring in a couple of other good additions, and I think Mariana Turbane, who will be joining the Coburn Wolves ranks, or not the Western Wolves, I'm thinking of a serious Futsal Victoria side, but the Coburn Wolves ranks, and she's played professionally in Croatia. She's played in the Women's UEFA Champions League and is currently playing in Greg Farrell's Subiaco side, so it'll be interesting to see if he can lure her over to the Northern Hawks. But as the final whistle goes, it's the West Coast Cobras 4, the Northern Hawks 1. And the Cobras do qualify for the grand final, winning 8-2 on aggregate. They will take on the Devils next week in the biggest match of the season. My name's John Goodlich. Thank you for joining me throughout all of tonight's action, and I will catch you next week with the grand finals.